So without further ado, I'd like to introduce my co-presenter today, Mike Walsh from Glassdoor. Mike, thank you for joining us.
Hey, thanks a lot, Matt. Great to be here. Looking forward to walking you all through a couple reasons why job ads may not be working for you and what we can do to fix those. So Matt and I will kind of go through this in a little play-by-play style that you're familiar with in baseball and basketball and football and all those good sports. So without further ado, here's the table of contents that we'll be going over. And actually, just a quick background about myself. I'm a senior product marketing manager here at Glassdoor, and I'm primarily focused on our job ads solutions. So that's why I've been picked up to talk about this topic here. So with that, we'll be going over what are job postings, why invest in job postings, 5 reasons that your job postings aren't working and ways to fix them. We'll also go through a pretty fun section and also admittedly a tricky section on looking at job posts and whether or not they're hot or not. So that'll be fun at the end to kind of really apply our thinking and learning here. And at the very end, we'll go through a recap of the top 5 things. Cool. So with let's start off here. What are job postings? I'm pretty sure this is a familiar topic for the audience here. But basically what I'd like to kind of highlight on this slide here is that job postings and job boards in particular have really changed over the last couple of years. Early on, you're all familiar with the post and pray models where you post a job up onto a job board online. There'd be very little targeting, if any. So the job was displayed to thousands of folks who weren't necessarily interested in 1, your company, 2, your position, and 3, your brand and what your value proposition is to the job seeker. So therefore, it was a lot of you'd be reaching out to the masses, but without a really unique voice that really hit the audience and hit the candidate you were looking for. Let's contrast that with today's job boards, and the biggest difference here is going to be around the whole idea and capability around targeting. So today we've moved away from the ability to just put your ad on the side of a road and really target it to the job seeker. For example, at Glassdoor, we utilize a couple different things. Candidate demographics, so we understand who our audience is, specifically what their background is and what they're looking for and what their job positions are. And we also look at what they're researching and clicking on throughout our site. So for example, if we know that you're a financial analyst and you're looking at different senior financial analyst positions at Apple, you'll soon be starting to see different types of financial positions available at similar companies like a Facebook or a Google or whatnot. So today's job boards basically remove a lot of that clutter and noise that were associated in the past and really deliver a unique, targeted, and streamlined experience that results in more quality applicants and faster hiring and money saved.
Yeah, and the one thing that I'd like to add is obviously Zappos publicly declared that they were no longer posting jobs, and there's been a lot of sentiment job postings are dead. According to Wanted Analytics, there were actually 52 million unique job postings posted across the internet last month alone. So in as much as a job posting is the primary communications unit for recruiting, it's also the primary place where you can derive a competitive advantage and stand out from those 150 or those millions and millions of other posts who were looking for the same top talent.
Great. So we kind of covered this, why invest in job postings. Here are the top 3 reasons, and really if I were to summarize it, it would be, 1, it's awareness. So just like Matt alluded to there, job postings are your best way of really communicating your unique company employer brand and the positions that you need to hire to a larger talent pool. We'd all love to rely on employee referrals and things like that to fill our recruiting needs, but ultimately you do need to reach out to a broader audience, and job postings are a great way of tapping into those outside pools. Another reason why is with the new targeting capabilities, job postings can actually help save you time in terms of allowing you to showcase your employer brand, provide more information such as in Glassdoor, where we have company reviews and folks can actually learn more about what it's like to actually work at the company from folks who've worked there. So in doing that process, it's almost like a filtering process and a self-selection process. So folks who don't see themselves as a good fit will actually opt out and not necessarily apply to your company, therefore increasing the quality pool of those who do apply. And thirdly, the big benefit here is, of course, results in dollars and saving money. By having less unqualified applications to go through, you're saving time, which translates into saving dollars, and more efficiency is just an overall better thing for the recruiting world here. Okay, so without further ado there, we can get into the 5 reasons your job postings aren't working. Okay, so reason number 1, the job title is unclear. The big warning sign here is around the fact that no one is interested. No one's clicking on your jobs. You've put it up on the board, but folks just aren't actually clicking on it and digging into it. You know, as we've all been told that you shouldn't be judging a book by its cover or selecting wine by the label, but people still do it. So titles still matter, and it's still, actually it's even more important these days with the way folks are searching for jobs online. So let's go to the next slide and talk about that. So for tip number 1 here is really, you need to keep in mind that most folks are going to be hunting and looking for your jobs online. So that could be through a search browser, also through a, once they've signed up for a job alert, perhaps they'll get a daily email. And in those job alerts and those searches, folks are putting in, specific terms to look for a job. So for example, in the past where we might have talked about needing to hire a rock star coder, these days you may want to be more specific and actually ask for what we need is a Java senior software engineer. For example, folks aren't necessarily looking at that rockstar coder type of language in today's job hunt.
Right, and to just add, I think that analyst is a great example. Obviously, an analyst in the HR technology industry is different than an analyst in the financial services industry is different than an analyst role at a media research company. So definitely make sure that you're not only incorporating search engine logic, but also candidate mindset, because the terminology that they're looking for may actually be much more specific than that which your company is able to provide. So don't look at the title field necessarily in a job posting as being what the HRM system says the job title is, or what that's going to be internally. Remember that an external job title in these documents is just as important as an internal job title as well. And then when, to Mike's point, when it comes to adding a little bit more color to the job description, again, once people find these open jobs, your audience is no longer an algorithm. So it's also really, really important to help sell that opportunity and amplify all of those different touch points that you're doing in terms of employer branding as well as candidate screening to really effectively convey what's different about the job as well as the realities, and make sure that your EVP is clear, but so too the presentation of the opportunity is realistic.
Awesome, Matt. Another, another example, I was talking with our client services team here, and this is a little more advanced, but folks are starting to take a page from Marketing Playbook and experiment with different job titles. So, for example, one client that we had was looking to hire sales, kind of a newer salesperson on the team, and they initially, their gut was to go with an inside sales representative title. We recommended that they try out a couple different titles: inside sales representative, and account executive. Same job, same description, just a different title. We ran those for about a month, and the overall result was that we ended up getting a ton more clicks and applicants through the sales representative title. So that actually translated and resonated with the audience better in terms of what they were searching for, and it took over twice as many clicks as the next closest. Cool. Let me just do a quick little plug here too about a new feature that we have at Glassdoor. It's called our Jobs Explorer, and what it is actually, it's pretty cool. It's from the White House. We're actually working with the White House and the Economic Development team around providing a tool to allow job seekers to understand what positions and opportunities are available in their geographic area. So while this is primarily designed for the job seeker perspective, what we've learned is actually clients are starting to use it more to fine-tune their own campaigns. So as you're looking to put in hire a product manager at your company, you can actually go to your geography, type in product manager, and then you can type on, there's another button that actually says look at similar positions. And so from that, folks are actually able to use and pick out what are the other types of keywords and titles that folks are using, and who is my competition in this market.
Yeah, and I would also add to that, Job Explorer is a really good tool in that it allows job seekers certainly to visualize where various job postings are within a geographic area. And whether or not you're using that tool, that's really important. So in a city like San Francisco, Los Angeles, Dallas, obviously there's a great deal of variance in locations within those markets. So definitely, rather than, if it does require coming into the office on a virtual opportunity, definitely make sure that you're as specific with that location as possible. So for instance, instead of putting San Francisco Bay Area and you're in Mountain View, put Mountain View, because job seekers will generally be looking for positions by radius. And so if they're going to be too far away, let's say they're in Sausalito, which would be, quite a prohibitive drive, although they're both in the Bay Area, then those candidates probably aren't going to get through process anyway. So definitely it's a good screening mechanism, and it's an important thing to know.
Definitely. Going over the Golden Gate and through the city, down the peninsula to Mountain View would be tough here. So, all right, number 2 here. You missed one of the basics. So the warning sign here is that there's a ton of interest in the form of clicks. So people are looking at your job post, clicking on it, but just no one's applying. There's a good chance here, and people still do it, that really you just missed a specific, hugely important piece of information in the job post itself. So that could be an indicator that something's broken in your post. So the tip here is basically, include the basics. And I'll put, use a template up there as well. And I know Matt's going to talk about this. There's a danger in using a template in the fact that things can become very repetitive and nothing really stands out. So I'll let Matt hit that point. But the idea with the template is to really ensure that you have all the basic information in there. That the job title's in there, it's clearly defined, the location, as Matt just discussed, is specific. You have specific details about the role, it's hitting an inspirational, aspirational tone. The responsibilities and the requirements are clear. We'll hit more on the responsibilities here in a second. And then that the next steps to apply are very clear, so that the candidate actually knows what they need to do. If they need to deliver you more information and a cover letter and contact so-and-so, that information is clear and easy to find. Another big piece here is that the job posting itself looks good. So when we say easily scanned, it should be just that. You should be able to quickly look at the job posting and have it not just be a long paragraph or worse, a copy and paste job that went wrong, but something that's in simple bulletproof format with just a clear, concise language. So with that, I'll let Matt, you can add some color to this.
Yeah, and I definitely think that having a template is important, and most of the time a lot of these fields are obviously going to be forced by whatever site it is that you're posting on, or even mandated by your ATS if it's being posted on a career site. However, as easy as it is to post jobs, which is why it's generally our first step as opposed to searching our database when we open a requisition, is the fact that a bulleted list or just a list of what it is that we're looking for is not going to stand out. They generally tend to be very genericized, and it really doesn't show a whole lot about what separates this position from other positions that candidate's searching for using the exact same search fields on any career site. So definitely the ability to take these fields, add some voice, add some tone, and add some flavor, and not only talk about what you need, but what the candidate's going to get is of critical importance in terms of driving quality and qualified applicants.
Great. So cool. So with that, I mean, another way to highlight your unique value proposition in your employer brand and really get your story out is including information and links back to other sites, back to your own career site, on what it's like to work at the company. So here at Glassdoor, actually, we just released a new product, I think last week, maybe 2 weeks ago. It's not really a new product, but it's a new form of content that we're now collecting. So we're now collecting and presenting benefits information about companies. And so benefits information are a great way to really highlight what's unique about your company, what's important to you. Often the things that we invest in and provide to our employees are, correlate and show, the value that we have on them. It's a good way to really kind of position your unique story out there. So I'd encourage you all to take a look at the benefits information that we're now collecting and how you can get involved in terms of, positioning it and putting your story around it. Great. So reason number 3 here is your bar is just way too high. No one is applying to the position. So in your quest for, the unicorn and perfection, you might be scaring away some candidates. We would ask that, you take a look at what are the requirements that you're putting forth and really question and ask yourself, do I really need all of these? So next step, the tip here is really keep must-have requirements to a minimum. If they're not must-have, then they shouldn't be on there. So you need to look at the balance between the must-haves versus the nice-to-have requirements.
Yeah, and we've all definitely gotten into this hiring manager meeting where they go through this laundry list of things that would be awesome. It's also really important when you go to a kickoff meeting or an intake meeting with your hiring manager to make sure that you're armed with the data that you need to talk about the market, because I can tell you that in a fixed setting like a state of North Dakota, which is a limited population, the amount of CPAs, MBAs, and PhDs with the requisite experience, for example, are going to be impossible to find. If you're able to develop that sort of market data, and that can even be done by searching other job postings in the area and their requirements, or particularly with direct competitors, those are great ammunition when it comes to the give and the take. In getting the hiring manager to really open up those requirements and make it a position where you're boiling down minimum requirements versus preferred requirements, because those should not necessarily be all on the same list.
Great. So number 4 here is the opposite side of the spectrum. Your bar is way too low. So requirements basically serve as a funnel for a lot of candidates. And depending on how many requirements you have, how strict they are, how loose they are, that's going to really influence the flow of candidates and applications coming your way. So let's look at the tip here. The tip here is, if you know what you need, ask for it. Be specific, be clear, describe what it's like to be successful in the job. One example here is that our client services team was working with a client, and they really needed an engineer who had some solid Java skills, and their posting was all about was software engineer. Well, they got a ton of applicants, around a ton of unqualified applicants that didn't have that specific skill set that they were looking for. Once they turned that on to Java software engineer, boom, they started getting a lot better quality folks applying, and they were able to fill their hire quickly. So that's the tip here. Another tip here is, when if there's a lot of demand for the position, like for example, when I was actually applying here at Glassdoor for a product marketing position, there's a lot of folks in the Bay Area who'd like to have that kind of job. And so one of the requirements, or as part of the interview process, was I had to submit work samples and eventually do a presentation. So those are the types of things, those mechanisms can be used to help force and filter out unqualified candidates.
Right.
Matt, yes, that's all.
Yeah, absolutely. The one thing I'd say, though, is a benchmark, just so everyone's aware. In 2013, the average open and posted position had 200 applicants for it. Now, obviously, when you're slating 4 to 5 and only one of them is going to be successful, you're looking at around 199 people who are thanks but no thanks. So definitely it's important, if you are getting these applicants and they aren't qualified, to just make sure that you're able to see the type of flow that's coming in, and also be able to to have the flexibility to change the posting and that job description as is necessary to make sure that the candidates who you're looking for are qualified, really by winnowing those requirements and forcing them to do a little bit of homework, not only on application, but also doing their due diligence on their company. So providing those resources when the job description links to career page, a Glassdoor review site, employee testimonials, and that sort of thing really helps screen out potential non-cultural fits, as well as puts up a prohibition against unqualified people simply hitting apply.
Great. Cool. So number 5 here. You sound like everyone else. So you're getting clicks, no applicants. Folks just aren't vibing with your employer brand and understanding what you really stand for. So with that, let's look at the next tip. Really, you need to analyze what your voice is in the marketplace. And really, this comes down to employer branding, something that we're really passionate here at Glassdoor about. Being able to showcase what your employer brand is and really defining how that stands out against the competition, and ensuring that your voice is authentic and consistent across all of a candidate's touch points, whether that be from it really starts actually with your employees, right? So, word of mouth is an extremely important thing. That carries on over to the to your career site and your website overall, as well as all the different extensions like Glassdoor and other sites and channels that you may be using that candidates will touch upon and interact with.
And I would add to that, though, in terms of what your competition's doing, that's very important to know, because your ultimate goal is going to be to create a competitive advantage through this job description. And so when it really comes to having an authentic and consistent voice, the one thing I would like to point out that's so important is that what's going to appeal in terms of details to include about that corporate culture, what to focus on in terms of roles, responsibilities, and sort of that aspirational marketing aspect of job postings is going to be very different for a software developer or somebody in an IT function, somebody in a finance or accounting function, or somebody in a marketing function. So definitely remember that there is not a universal boilerplate job seeker. Everyone obviously is very unique, but at the same time, by speaking to the subject matter expertise and background of a particular vertical or skill set, then you're able to build in a clearly differentiated value prop that specifically targets a niche area or skill set.
Cool. Like one, I was watching that new HBO show, Silicon Valley, and I think, they made a joke, and it's kind of a joke that's here in the Bay Area a lot, is that all these companies say that they want to change the world, you'll change the world. So, you can say that, but then tell us how. Tell us why you're going to change the world and what exactly in your job is going to be infecting your next door neighbor. So just don't say a blanket, aspirational statement that's very meaningless without context.
Yeah, and to that end, we use Goldman Sachs as an example. That phrase, our people is our greatest asset. A Google search for that reveals something like 5 million results. And both Goldman as well as the city actually have that as their employer branding tagline. And I would like to think that to the two companies who are helping to control the world's finances, employees actually aren't their greatest asset. So also make sure that messaging is not only distinct, but it's also appropriate and consistent with your brand.
For sure. Good point. Okay, a couple of things here. With Glassdoor, actually, we offer a ton of data and analytics available on your profile page. So if you sign up for an account, you'll be able to gain access to a ton of charts like this, which actually help show, what your brand is like in the marketplace. So you'll be able to see, how many folks are actually clicking and viewing your profile over time. You'll be able to see what kind of information, what kind of candidates are coming on board and looking at your profile. We have all the demographic information there on the bottom left. Additionally, we have the ability to show what through these word clouds, we'll be able to show you, what folks are talking about in terms of pros and cons of your employer brand. So a lot of companies are actually starting to use this and really focus on, what is it that's resonating out there in the marketplace, and how how are my employees and past employees, how do they see me, how do they see my company in the world. Finally, we also are able to show, what your employer brand is like rated against the competition. So we are able to show you, what your ratings are against any type of competitor that you want to look at. And finally, we actually have launched a couple months ago a program called Open Company. What this does is really the goal is to, in the spirit of all this, is to really increase and highlight the transparency of your programs to job seekers. So, with this program, basically we ask you to just do 5 quick steps, and that's really update, maintain your company profile, get reviews from your employees, add photos so that folks can actually see what it's like to work in your company, and respond to reviews. It's a really great way to engage your employees to understand what's working and what's not. With that, then there's actually a badge that can be displayed that shows whether or not you're an open company profile, and it goes both ways. But we have more information on that online.
And whether you like it or not, I will tell you that we talked about SEO. Glassdoor has done an amazing job with that. So on any candidate who you actually want, who's in process, whether they do it on the front end or the back end, are going to find your Glassdoor posting more than likely. So it's a good idea to make sure that you're as transparent and open up front on a career site or any other collateral, because ultimately they're going to be digging that up anyway. So
yeah, awesome point, Matt. Yeah, actually Google, when they updated their search algorithm a couple months ago, they awarded Glassdoor with the largest increase in SEO visibility. So that's kind of a testament to our, the valuable content that that job seekers are getting on Glassdoor and they can't get anywhere else. Okay, so with that, we'll get into a section here on hot or not, similar to the dating game that everyone loves. We'll be looking at different job postings and trying to understand whether or not if they're hot or not. So I guess for this, we can encourage folks, if you want, to respond via Twitter on your thoughts about these postings, and also in the chat box here, and we can read out some of those as they come in. Okay, so with that, let's get to the first one here. All right. So job posting number 1. This is an easy one, a little funny one here. Surgeon wanted for a new health clinic opening in the area. No experience needed. Must have own tools. Due to a possible labor dispute, applications for temporary employment are now being accepted at all Vons and Pavilion stores. Now hiring. Okay. So obviously this is a good one. Good idea to have a surgeon with experience, and hopefully they can use a hospital's tools and not their own tools to operate on you. So we're going to go with the not. Okay, now we're getting into a little more trickier one here. So, Matt, I don't know if you want to take a stab at kind of describing what you're seeing on this posting.
Yeah, so obviously anyone who is looking for a front-end software engineer probably is not going to have a tremendous amount of trouble finding jobs. So you've already won, in my opinion, if they come across this. But in order to decipher what the heck this text block means, you almost have to know how to code. So in my opinion, while I think that it's pretty good for keywords optimization, more or less, if I'm coming across as a software developer, in my personal opinion, you've just given me a laundry list of what you need, not any reason why I should actually work at that company, or what's different than the 150 other companies or recruiters that have called me this week. So, in my personal opinion, that's not. That's not so hot, but neither are software engineers, so, that's
Thumbs down. Also, the scalability of that post is a big fail, so, right? I mean, it's someone just cut and pasted and didn't really work with the format there. Okay, so the next one here. This one, we like, there's a couple different aspects here. So first off, this is just a snippet of a larger post. So the post is fairly large. But what I'm liking about this one here is the fact that it's pretty aspirational. It shows you what the company growth is like and what you'll be doing to contribute to that growth. So there's a lot of, and it's specific. It actually talks about the program there at the very end called Rocket Fuel that you'll be leading and delivering to really help fuel that growth. So survey says, hot. Cool.
Yeah, and pointing, just going back really quick, I think, to that particular posting, a best practice there is that first paragraph there, just to amplify that point, is a best practice. It instantly creates an affinity, a cultural target, and also ties in the job to a greater purpose, which ultimately, and particularly for Gen Y job seekers, is what you want to do. Because it's really not about what the position does, it's about what the position impacts, both in terms of the job seeker and the potential for greater change. So definitely always, I would say, lead with a value prop, and it's a pretty good example of that. So, hot.
Okay. So for this one, let's maybe, folks, if you want, get on the old Twitter there, the chat box, and if you could throw in your thoughts here, it'd be great to collect those while we take a look at this. And I don't know if you're getting input yet.
I mean, we're getting some tweets on here, but it seems like it's a little bit more snarky back end than hot or not Wayne. But in this, my particular opinion is this one's pretty obvious. So so if you want to talk through this one, I think it's good. But I'm just reading this now, and wow, that is a generic job description.
Yeah. So this one here, generic job description, again, lacking the whole aspirational piece. When we look at the minimum requirements too, you can you look at those numbers and it looks like a huge filter of, all right, the bar is getting continually, harder and harder and higher and higher. So with that, we're going with the not.
Yeah, and if you can also find someone with 7 or more years of web application development experience, you found an impossible candidate, because in 2007 there were relatively few SaaS or web application solutions out there, believe it or not. So going back to one of those points, the experience requirement there is a little ridiculous.
Okay. Okay, so here's another one here. Again, this one has a lot of information, very specific title in terms of what they're looking for, so it's clear. They need somebody who's got a lot of Linux experience. If you look at the job description further, it really kind of goes into how this job's going to impact the company and the growth and the overall mission. It really also talks about a lot of what you'll be doing in the role itself and how your Linux experience is going to affect that role. Further down too, it uses a good differentiator between basic qualifications and preferred qualifications in terms of really setting up the minimum requirements and what you need to be able to apply and be successful to this job. Matt, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think this is good. Obviously, this is from Amazon. That's not hidden on there. And this really brings an important point if you're recruiting and posting the enterprise space, which is Amazon or any company with a strong consumer brand really has another challenge in job postings, which is to create a differentiated employer brand. So, while I'm sure most software engineers in the first place are familiar with Amazon, that's instantly going to trigger some sort of brand affinity. What I think is great about this is the fact that it speaks to the opportunities there. I can think of no better value prop than this sentence. This team creates the very core of the cloud and is directly responsible for radically changing and improving the way that people use computers. Come help us make history. I think that that's a pretty compelling argument that should be responsive to anyone who's going to be innovative enough to probably meet the cultural needs of this group. So hot.
Cool. Yeah, so this one is this one we went a little back and forth on actually. There was it is very specific. There's a lot of great keywords here in terms of what the job seeker will be searching for. However, you know, as we alluded to earlier beforehand, there's not a lot of discussion on what you're actually going to be doing in the role, how it matters to the company. So it's really lacking that storyline.
Yeah, and the other thing too, I would say is that senior software engineer, generic title. However, putting the actual programming languages in the title field, because we talked about some of the SEO plays, that's actually a pretty good way to have that listing for C++ software engineers rise to the top of that search. So it's not a terrible idea.
Correct. Good and bad aspects on this.
Yeah, it's mixed.
We're feeling a little harsh though, so we put a nod. We can go both ways there. This next one is this one was another tricky one that we looked at. So it's looking for an engineer in Beijing, hint there, and it's advertising the U.S. This U.S. job posting. So it really talks about, you know, gives you a pretty good idea of what you'll be doing, and the required skills are not ridiculously high, but it's very specific in terms of what types of languages and experiences you need. But for us, the big thing that kind of, you know, the big question mark is, so it's in Beijing. So what's going to happen with that? So is there any kind of relocation package? You know, how are we going to be taken care of? I mean, this is the big question mark in this posting that the answers aren't available for.
Yeah, and to that point, again, if you even find that software engineer, there are so many unanswered questions. Do I have to speak Chinese? Do I have to know? It says, you know, you'll drive the company's culture. Is that foreign culture or is that corporate? And is relo going to be provided? You know, what exactly does the work assignment look like? If it's an assignment that's international with an English job description, make sure that you spell out all those points to reiterate the importance, again, of location, but also job status, because you could get down to the end of the cycle and lose a candidate on a point as minute as we are going to cover a visa past 2 years. So just make sure that that's all in there up front.
Great. So there we go. You know, here's another one here. Last one. So this last one, again, you're trying to look outside the technology bubble that we sometimes exist in. And, you know, when I look at this title, it's very specific on what they're looking for, rock mechanics technologist. I don't know what that is, but it's very important to this company. I'm sure a lot of folks are really good at that. So what it also does is it really kind of gives you an idea of, again, you know, the overview of what the company's doing in the world, and how, again, this position matters. Again, it goes through the detail of what the required qualifications are versus the preferred qualifications.
Yeah, and it does one thing too on here, and I don't know why they did it, but it's absolutely brilliant. And that is that they create a sense of urgency. A lot of positions, as you know, if you ever have searched for a job, you'll see a posting that's like 3 months old that's still up there and active, and you're like, okay, why hasn't that been filled yet? They actually create a sense of urgency. They accept online applications through position, but put a hard cutoff in there. So I think that actually may be, for whatever reason they did it, a good strategy to look at, to just make sure that you are able to get the applications in a timely manner, and really create that sense of urgency that's going to push a maybe candidate into a yes applicant.
Great. Yeah, very creative and very timely, because what is it? It's due like in 2 days.
Yeah.
Yep. Get on it. Okay, so just a quick update on Glassdoor and kind of where we're at. Matt alluded to this earlier, and it's pretty cool to see the actual results of how our traffic is growing. So basically what we're seeing lately is that, you know, our traffic is starting to rocket ship up. A lot of that is from, you know, just word of mouth awareness and just understanding that, you know, as folks look for their next career move, they're landing on Glassdoor to really learn more about what it's like to work at a company and to find the jobs that match their own values. So with that, you can see a translation into our traffic growth. Again, we got a huge bump with the Google search update a couple months ago, and we continue to see that growing as we add more and more unique content like benefits to our package, and really more and more tools for both job seekers and employers. So whether you're a job seeker looking for, you know, researching jobs or researching companies or researching, oh, I need some interview tips, you know, all of that can happen within Glassdoor. And on the employer side, we've really kind of become a full stop solution in terms of, you know, branding, hiring, and influencing. So the next slide just goes over just our 3 basic you know, solutions and values that we offer to employers. So one, if you want to increase your, or you know, drive up the awareness of your employer brand and increase awareness, really Glassdoor is the spot to be, because that's where folks are going and landing to research your company and the competition. It's also a great place to be able to, once they're there, to start influencing candidates by showcasing your messaging, what it's like to work here, your videos, your content, your photos, to job seekers. And finally, as folks are researching what it's like to work at a company, it's also good and a great opportunity, because they're primed to advertise to them and put your job postings in front of folks who are researching you and your competition. So with all that, those are the kind of the 3 foundational values that we deliver to employers. I'd say a 4th one is that whole analytics and insight that we went over earlier. So, you know, as you engage in all 3 of these parts of these 3 parts, you'll be able to get more candidate insight and more awareness in terms of what messages are resonating with your candidates, and how you can really better, you know, fine-tune your culture and your brand to make everything more efficient.
And so taking a quick recap of the 5 things you're probably doing wrong with your job descriptions. The job title is unclear or ambiguous, so make sure that you are as specific to what a candidate is looking for as possible, even if that might not be a reflection of the internal title of Associate Vice President 2 or Analyst. 2, you missed one of the basics. So if you are not exactly clear on what it is that you're looking for, and you don't put in more or less a little bit of flavoring on what to expect from the job and what they're going to get out of it, then you're missing the boat. 3, your bar is way too high. While the sourcing industry traditionally thrives on this, chances are that if you're having trouble with candidate flow or finding people interested in the job, then you are putting out too many required qualifications. So definitely make sure that you're able to keep those specs and requirements as broad as possible in order to get the talent you need, not the talent that you'd love to have, because every organization would too, and those tend to be a lot more expensive and require reload. Your bar is set way too low. This is a little bit of you know, Goldilocks and the 3 bears here, but to make sure that it's just right, you have to find that sweet spot, because if you have no requirements whatsoever, or your admissions requirements are like a pulse to get in there, you're just going to be overwhelmed with resumes, and it's likely you're going to miss out on the candidates who actually are qualified. And I think 5 is the most important thing that sucks. You sound like everyone else, Ultimately, the one thing that I don't think we've talked about as much is that a job posting is not, or a job description is not necessarily a job posting or a job advertisement. When it comes to sources of hire, your referrals are always, and have been for over a decade, the #1 source, but they still need a job description. So even if you're not planning on posting it, but you're still planning on circulating it out, you really need compelling conversational and friendly copy that talks not only about the position, but sounds like it was written by a real person. The quick check here is this. If you're bored reading the job description, chances are candidates won't even get through it. So make sure that, before it goes out, that, you just have somebody check and make sure that, yeah, this is actually readable and I could get through it. Because if you're missing out on those and people aren't reading the job description, they're either going to be completely uninformed if you call them up, or they're not going to apply at all, and neither of those are situations you want.
Great. Cool. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah. So with that, we're moved on to questions. So if there are any questions or specific job descriptions you'd like us to consider, please feel free to type them into the question box in the chat window, or use the hashtag Glassdoor on Twitter.
Hey, Matt and Mike. We have a few questions already for you. And Gabriel is wondering, Matt, the unique job posting numbers that you mentioned before from Wanted Analytics, are they worldwide or U.S. only?
That's U.S. only. That's North America only. So U.S. and Canada.
All right. And then we have a question here from Derek. Derek is from Hertz Car Rental in Europe, and he asks, what is your opinion on showing salary on job adverts?
Good question. So I'll let Mike speak to the Glassdoor product, which actually makes it a solution I like. If you are paying above market, which is very easy to find, absolutely advertise the compensation in there. I would say that if you're paying well below market, it's a terrible idea, because then you're taking out the need of a recruiter, which is to ultimately close the right candidate. However, putting compensation dependent on experience, every recruiter knows that's a lie, right? Like, you have a salary range and you can't go above or below it. It doesn't hurt to put that in there, in my opinion, because it saves a lot of that time, not in the vetting process of resumes and the dispositioning, but in the screening, that dance of getting down to the, and what's your current compensation now? It's the most effective way to screen that out, because ultimately, as you know, that's often what makes or breaks an offer for an experienced hire.
For sure, Matt. Glassdoor actually holds and records salary information from candidates. So our users are actually going in there already and posting anonymously what they're making in various positions at various companies. So we have a ton of salary information already on the site. As I alluded to before, we're actually adding benefits information too. So regardless if you put it on the posting or not, the description or not, folks are going to be doing that kind of research. Actually, that's one of the biggest search terms that people do is, Cisco, product marketing, salary. So folks are looking at that and using Glassdoor as a gauge and as a reference point. So to Matt's point, if you are paying above market rate, and again, you can use Glassdoor to help figure out what those market rates are, be proud of that. Use that as an advantage.
And I just saw a question come up on Twitter that I thought was really good. This is from Drake and Company Staffing, and that's what advice do you have for the third-party firms who write descriptions for a variety of employers? My answer to that question is simple. There are a couple of different things that I would advise. First off, make sure you're not misrepresenting yourself as a company. As a direct ad for the company, make it very clear it's a third-party posting and that you're working with the company. Nothing will turn off a candidate more than a call from a third-party recruiter who's responding to an application that comes in from an ad that poses like it's a direct hire. Two, I think it's really important to put in there the value, your personal value proposition, and why you are a recruiting or staffing firm that's worth working with. So a list of additional clients, things of that nature. But I think for a lot of staffing, it's definitely more important to open the net as widely as possible, because you're working on a bunch of different positions, right? So I'd also say, unlike in-house, you probably don't want to be as restrictive with requirements, because ultimately they'll be going out to those different employers. So what's not right for one may be right for another.
All right. We have a two-pronged question here from Carolyn. Carolyn asked, do you feel that it's kind of morbid to include benefits like accidental death and dismemberment or short and long-term disability? And she's also wondering if you think it's a good idea to include soft skills, like the question or qualification as must be a team player, although most people say they're good with others. But so two questions there. How much is too much information, and do we also add soft skills in our job postings?
I guess do the benefits one. You know, we get specific in our benefits questionnaire, actually. So it does get into areas of that, of you know, the death and dismemberment, unfortunately. And it's all stuff that you hate thinking about, but it is a reality that this is something that folks really hold important. You know, really just think about it from, you know, the candidate experience. Is it something that matters to them? If it does, then, you know, I would not be afraid to put that out there.
And I'd also say, to the point of creating a competitive differentiation, those benefits are slightly morbid, but by the same virtue, not every company offers them. So it really is an example of the fact you have a robust benefits package, I would say. In terms of the soft skills question, moving on to the second part of that, and Mike, feel free to weigh in here. I honestly think that they shouldn't be listed, because if you are looking at candidates who aren't team players, who don't have excellent written and communication skills, and all that other stuff you see in resumes that's complete fluff, and it's similarly fluffy in job descriptions, you're not going to end up hiring them anyway. So if they're not a team player with you know, whatever other soft skills you want to list on there on that laundry list of cliches, you're not going to hire them anyway. So I think it's just a waste of space that could otherwise be spent selling a value prop.
Yeah, I would agree with Matt here. I would say, if you want to kind of, there's probably different ways to phrase them and put those requirements down. So instead of asking, you know, team player required, you know, you want to put in something around, you know, experience leading, you know, a small team or you know, team of X amount of people or whatever, which kind of gets to that point and is a little more specific in terms of what you need.
Or tie it to a company value. So in your, you know, company statement where you talk about it, we're a company that relies on cross-functional teams and constant collaboration in order to achieve projects across departments, teams, and divisions. Something like that says the same thing without making it a bulleted requirement.
Yep.
All right, Matt, I have promised the people who logged in their hot and not reactions to your job posting that we would share what the community felt versus what you said. And I will share with everybody anonymously that everybody felt the same way as Matt and Mike on the job posting. It was rather interesting to see. So you called them out, Matt and Mike, on hot or not. The audience agree. With that, I also have another question here from Matt Severt. And Matt is saying, when you look at data, about how many clicks per apply are you seeing in general? Do you have a source of information about those ratios by verticals?
Cool.
Mike, I don't know if you have a tool or any insights on that.
Yeah, it definitely differs. I mean, we look at our own experience with clients and across different verticals, and you know, we also look at industry reports like Josh Person. You know, he has different verticals, and we also work with you know, our agency partners, recruiting agencies out there, because they have a lot of good stats on, you know, what the different tool sets are doing. I don't have the, you know, the industry cut in front of me, in terms of like what folks are expecting, but on Glassdoor, we're seeing anywhere between 4 to 8% of clicks go from basically a career page to application. So that's a click to apply ratio of 4 to 8% is kind of where we're looking at on Glassdoor, which is great from what we're hearing from some of our partners.
That's a really much higher than a benchmark, but the other metric that I'd say is just as important, if not more so, is you can have the best job description in the world, but if you click apply now and it goes into an ATS that's going to take that person 30 minutes to apply, ask for their social security number, and isn't mobile enabled, then the ratio of started to finished applications is going to be very low. So I think that the best way to keep that funnel, again, from not only just a click, but an actual candidate, is to make sure that not only are the job descriptions as clean and clear to a candidate as possible, but so too is the process by which they submit their information into your system.
All right. Thank you. And we have another question here. This is from Caroline. And she's asking, do you have any data on the type of candidates, i.e. their position and industry, that uses Glassdoor most often, be it to analyze a company or to apply for a job? So she gives the example, engineers versus truck drivers.
Truck drivers. Truck drivers always comes up as the outlier example. We don't have the exact demographics. I don't have that in front of me right now. I mean, we have a pretty diverse audience. The traffic, as you saw in the traffic chart, we're growing like crazy. So with that, the demographics get wider. About 50% of our audience is college education. The other 50 is high school or is below college. We do tend to work really well in like industries like tech and finance and things like that. But we have a solid we have solid candidate performance and coverage across all industries. So we have clients like in retail. Within, I think Hertz was someone put in a question about Hertz. They're a client. So we have candidates and coverage across all of these verticals. And really, again, it really comes back down to targeting. So if you're interested in a very specific niche part of an industry, we can reach those job seekers through our targeting abilities. I would encourage you too to for folks to sign up to to get at least a free employer account with Glassdoor, and therefore you can actually claim your page, your profile page, which you probably already have, and people are probably already viewing. So you'll be probably surprised when you go onto your own analytics page and look at the number of page views you're getting already to your site. And to take that one step further, I'd actually compare the number of page views that you're getting on your Glassdoor profile versus what you're going to get on your Career Center profile. You'll probably be surprised there too.
Awesome. We are getting close to the end, but we still have a few more questions, and I just want to share with anybody who's put in a question that we will not have time to answer. We will try to answer your questions offline via email after the webinar. But here's a question from Paul. He has asked, what is the best way to create keywords info for your job advertisement?
Google Analytics, I would say, does a really good job, and it's free to sign up, of looking at rising and falling search terms on that site. So you can look for software engineers related terms and see what's performing. I would, and Mike, you may disagree with me, I wouldn't recommend focusing too much on organic SEO, though, as opposed to a compelling job description, only because you're not going to beat Indeed and Glassdoor for a one-off job description. So really, I think the onus is on getting that message across from a page view, not a search engine, because they'll be found through other sites, generally.
Yeah, I would agree with Matt there. Google is obviously the king of search there. So you can even do that yourself on the Google homepage. Just start looking at what are the hits that are happening. Again, that Job Explorers tool that we talked about at Glassdoor is another good way to see what other terms and titles folks are using and are similar to the title you're considering.
Yeah, and another cool thing too is what you can do for a lot. Let's say you have a career page for a competitor. Oftentimes, there are a bunch of sites. Just look for word cloud generator, or obviously Glassdoor has the tool. If you can push the URL into a word cloud generator, it will actually generate for any search terms. Let's say you're looking at competitors' open marketing jobs. If you push in that URL to like Tagzito or anything else, if you Google it, that's another great way to make that really easy to do, which is why I think it's a good feature that Glassdoor has.
So, gentlemen, we have come to the very end of the webinar. Matt, thank you. Mike, thank you. Thank you, audience, for all the awesome questions. And again, as promised, any questions that weren't answered in this time period will be answered offline. Thank you to Glassdoor. Have a great day and come back and see you soon.